Podcast City.
Get on it.
Podcast City.
Get on it.
Yeah, we are on it. I am the Hurricane. This is Corona Chaos. Can you believe we've done 17 episodes about the Corona? But I promise you this one will be the most fun, for sure. And it's not going to take that long. My man Keith Mello, my brother from another mother, in the house. Got the stats, facts, and figures. And I'll tell you something right now, man. We broke the stats down deeper than we ever have for you today. And my main man on the wheels of steel. I wish he had two 1200s back there, but that ain't the case. You know how it goes. Today, everything's on the computer. That's why this world is going to hell. My main man.
What's going on?
My brother from another mother. Okay? DJ Frizz Milton Frizzado. What's happening, my man? Hey, I got a question for everybody, man, right? I got a question. Where the fuck is Dr. Fauci? Somebody tell me where Dr. Fauci is. Does Trump have him tied up in in the bowels of the Pentagon? I mean, is he blacklisted by the media? I mean, what is going on? This guy was in America's living rooms, and they loved him. People question his credentials. People question his purpose. You know, but America loved him.
Wherever he is right now, I'm pretty sure, and we'll get to it later, he'll be coming out of hiding real soon because he will
Well,
not
I'll tell you
have a
what,
choice.
the generals are blasting Trump and everything, and if it's ever to make a move now, Dr. Fauci, well, but where has he gone? Or more importantly, is it the power of the media to make you an instant star, Milton, by clapping their hands, by snapping their hands? Bang, you're a star. Richard Jewell's a star. Bang, Dr. Fauci's a star. Bang, Johnny Cochran's a star. Bang, the Menendez twins, they're stars. Bang, 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 up and down. Covering Britney Spears' meltdown every day. You know, and that's what it is.
And they build you
They
up to
got
take
us
you
by
down.
the balls. They got us by the balls. And if we're not careful, we're going to get brainwashed. Think about it. And you know something? Corona was so important. It was the biggest story in the history of the world. It was the greatest threat to our country. It disappeared like that for a week. Okay? Just like that. It went from the front page of every newspaper and the lead on every TV and radio show for 4 months. And then just like that, the tragedy of George Floyd, who was murdered in the streets of Minneapolis by a police officer while 4 others watched. Okay? And the protest and police brutality and the rioters and the looting and police reform, that took over the news. Just like they brought Dr. Fauci into our living rooms, right? And then they put him back in the basement just as fast. Just as fast. Whether we know it or not. Are we getting led around? Are we getting led by the nose by the media? I am not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in one that somebody's come to me. I do believe that there's life on another planet, because it would be extremely arrogant to think in all this big stratosphere out there that we're the only ones. Okay? But conspiracy theories, not my thing at all. Okay?
Same here.
But we are being led around. We're being led around by the media. And it's also dividing us.
You and I grew up in an era where the news was on half an hour a night. Now, in the 24/7, people just are constantly tuned in, and just to see how much has changed in 10 minutes.
Get Rick Oliver's quote today that he put on his page. Okay, I thought it was very poignant, and I agreed. But just like that, Milton, just like that, Fauci's gone. This guy was Mick Jagger on the medical scene, man. This guy was a bad motherfucker. American families loved him. Okay? People trusted him. He was a ray of hope. Okay? In a time of extreme darkness. His ratings were through the charts. His profile was exploded. He was the most Googled person in the world for a month. And just like that, bang, he's gone. Just like that. And that, my friends, is the scary, okay? Game-changing, life-changing, image-making way that the media has us right by the cojones. You know, right by the cojones. And actually, I've been watching media much less since the George Young thing came out, and even since the corona came out, because I hate the way it's reported. It's reported like a sporting event. Death totals, clicking. These are human beings. They become a click on a thing. With no funeral, no decent wake. Loved ones can't spend time with them when they're dying. Can you believe that?
And this all started with O.J. Simpson.
Well, I mean, come on, man. Come on. We get the numbers. Your mother is dying. Your father is dying. Your best friend is dying. You can't be there with them. Because what? Because in Massachusetts, okay, 0.01 of the people infected have died. No, 0.1% of people have died from it. I mean, come on. Is the risk that big that you can't see your grandmother off who raised you? You can't see your older brother that protected you? You know? You can't see that sister that you were so close with? Come on, man. Come on. That's crazy. It's craziness. Milton, you know? And boom. I mean, this went from the biggest news story ever, and now it's like split in time. You know, it's crazy. I guess they tell us what we're going to see and what we're going to talk about.
They definitely they're controlling the narrative.
You know what I mean? And Fox does it their way, and NBC does it their way, and CNN's kind of doing it their way in the middle, a little more left. You know, it's you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And you can see it in the reporters. You can see it in the people who are doing commentary. You can see it in the talk show hosts. You can see how things are written. You can see the certain headlines that they use. And it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing.
Yeah, you can definitely see the bias.
On both sides. Oh, without question. Yeah, it's crazy. It's not supposed to, I mean, forget where have you gone Joe DiMaggio, where have you gone Walter Cronkite. Its nation turns its lonely eyes to you.
Walter Cronkite, Mike Wallace,
Yeah.
Tim Russett.
Yeah. Where have you gone, Walter Cronkite? Its nation turns its lonely eyes to you. Where can we get the news reported like the news? Nice and vanilla and investigated and thorough and true, without bias or division or intent done. Forget where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio. We need where have you been, Walter Cronkite? Because we need you more than ever. We need class and intelligence, okay? And the highest level of decorum brought back to the news.
And
That's what we need.
And to stop
But,
making it ratings driven as well.
Well, I mean, that's what makes that's what makes the money, and that is the reason why it's probably never going to happen. Sadly, that is for sure. Let's switch gears for a little bit. You know, we like to give you the facts and figures here, man, and this is some crazy stuff. Keith, in the world, how many affected?
7.1 million cases worldwide.
Yeah, 408,000
408,000 deaths.
408,000 deaths. 9% of the world's population was infected, okay? And the total number of deaths worldwide of people who got it were 5%, okay? These numbers drop considerably, percentage points is considerable when we're dealing with this type of numbers. The United States has 2.5 million cases, 113,000 deaths. 8% of the population of Massachusetts caught the coronavirus, and 3% of them have died. The death number being 3 times lower than the world number in Massachusetts, in the United States, okay, is going to be because of our medical community and the doctors.
Without a doubt.
It has to be. That is a big, big difference. You know, that is a big, big, big difference there. In Massachusetts, 103,000 people have been infected. 7,300 died. More than 5,000 of them who lived in assisted facility places were over the age of or had pre-existing issues. More, close to 80% of the deaths, certainly. Of those infected, 1.5% of the population, okay, and a 0.1% of the people infected died. So, if you're Massachusetts, like the USA numbers and the world's numbers, okay, there's significant improvement in how we handle it. When you look at Massachusetts and how it's been handled, I mean, think about it. You got North Carolina, Florida, Texas, the cases spiking there.
California.
Okay. Illinois, certainly. But Massachusetts, we're away from that. We were the hot zone for a quick minute. And in Fall River, you have 1,449 people, okay, that have been infected. 67 of them have died. 1.6% of the population caught the virus, and 0.07 passed away. So those are the numbers. Out of all those numbers, what jumps out to you the most? What should you bring to the people's attention?
The fact that we're still 35% of the cases come out of the United States. Yeah. 2.5 million cases out of 7.1. With all due respect, though, worldwide,
we're testing more.
Yes, we are.
Okay, is that a result of our of the amount of tests that we've done, or is that number? Will you think that number will hold true?
It's been seems to be always hovered somewhere around 30%, 1/3.
But if we're not getting real numbers from countries, and I agree with you, okay, that's if we're not getting real numbers from countries like China or Russia or other places, if we're not getting real numbers and real testing isn't being done, how do you really know? Like, how is that going to affect the curve? Is it a 10% effect? Is it a 20% effect? We don't know that.
No, we don't.
You know, but the fact is it has been consistently at 33%. Okay, when we represent 5%, Milton, 5% of the population. You know, I think that I know we're the economic hub. I know that more people come to our country than any other. I know that, but still, I still think, we get off to a late start. You know. It sucker punched us. Let's say Corona came out of nowhere, okay? And it wasn't till our first real line of defense, okay, was the American medical worker. That was the first thing that worked correctly, was the American medical worker and the hospitals who handled it, who had so many patients. They were doing stuff in fields and these satellite hospitals, and they didn't have enough ventilators, and they're running around. They were the first ones to check the advance, without question.
And they're the only ones throughout this who haven't blamed anybody. Just
you're right.
Taken ownership of it.
Sure. And our early detective systems failed us, right?
Yes, it did.
Yes. And what was left? Okay? They got through the barbed wire. They got through the landmine. They wanted to go where the goal was at, right? They wanted to get to where the goal was at, and the American nurse punched it right in the face. I say, hell no. I've worked too hard for this. Hell no. It's my time to shine. Hell no. This is Roe v. the Riveter 2020. We will mass together and fight for this country. We will come en masse, and we will work 16-hour days. We will work 7 days in a row. Okay? We will have 1 day off in a month. We will be on the front lines, not just in face masks, in helmets, in work, everything. They look like they were walking on the moon. But they got the job done, baby. They got the job done. And that's why I salute you, the American nurse and frontline medical worker. You're not in the Army, you're not in the military, you're not in the Navy, you're not a general, you're not a corporate, you're not a plebe. But I will salute you, bang, bang, for the work that you've done. You bailed our asses out, okay? And they better treat you right.
And our lives right now and our defense are in their hands. They're saving lives.
Sure. And like even Cuomo said today, we're turning the corner with this. Yeah, we are turning the corner with this, hopefully. Now, the one question I have, okay, and I think it's a good one, is are we going to get a spike in numbers from the protest? Because we won't get that data for probably a couple of weeks, right?
Up to 10 days. Minimum 10 days.
To show a trend? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I think the better numbers would be 3 or 4 weeks from now. Okay? Because the number's not going to go up because the weather's getting warmer. You know what I mean? So if there's spikes out of the norm when everybody's trending downward, okay, then I think it's the protesting and that fact that they just threw all of that. You know, they threw caution aside. I mean, I don't care how many masks you're wearing. If you're 20,000 people and you're in Providence and you're jammed into this one place and people are all over one another, you know, that's not the recipe to fight a pandemic by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll see what happens, okay? I have shifted my gears with this. I wear masks now because you have to go to the stores, but I shifted my gears to this. I'm less and less. I'm not. The last 2 weeks, I haven't been nearly as quarantined as I have had been. And is quarantine a thing of the past? Are people done with it? I mean, pool businesses are way up, okay? People flocked to Rhode Island when the restaurants opened up. They were packed, okay? Backyard parties all over Facebook. Kids swimming in the pool together. Parents, finally. We talked to Justin Cameron and Thomas Michael here for Durfee Rocks, and they said their parents finally unchained them. You know what I mean? And, you know, at first at my brother's house, there was only 1 or 2 friends that could come by. Now there's 5, 6, 7. You know, people are letting their guard down. Are we done with quarantining, Milton? Where you at with quarantining? I mean,
I don't think
you're still doing it, but you
to a
got
limited
you have a
degree.
unique situation. Someone that you love, you know, and it's your soulmate. You know,
immune compromised.
yeah,
That makes it.
is immune compromised. So I get it, but I think most people out there. I drove through the Bedford a week ago, and people were eating on patios of restaurants, and I didn't see a whole lot of masks. They were out and about. I drove by the beaches in the South End. They were busy. People parking their cars, hanging out. I wasn't seeing it there. We talked about that they should loosen restrictions earlier in the summer because you don't want people disobeying what they be. You know what I mean? Like you don't want that because that causes rebellion, that causes protest, and that causes dividing. So as a lawmaker, you have to be practical, and you can't expect people who have been cooped up for 90-some days, 100-some odd days, 120 days, okay, when the first break of sunshine comes out, I mean, you're going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, here,
These numbers do not warrant. These numbers do not warrant, I believe, beaches to be completely shut down and youth sports haven't played and all that other stuff. I don't think that they do. I mean, we're looking at a death rate in Massachusetts, okay, of 0.1% of those infected. I mean, I would think that probably car accidents are more than that, or drug overdoses, or lots of stuff, right, Milton? Yeah. I mean, that's where we're at in Massachusetts. We broke these numbers down a whole nother level. In our next podcast, we're going to break the age demographic down, okay? And hopefully, episode 20, we'll be done with this. Maybe we'll have a reunion show or bring all the jerk-offs back that have been on here with us. Oh, God, if you can't laugh, what can you do, brother? Okay? But look at these numbers, Keith. 0.07 affected it forever. Like, kids are missing high school graduations for this shit. Kids are missing their proms. Kids miss spring sports. Kids are going to miss fall sports, it looks like. You know? When do we say, whoa, you know what I mean? The cost balance, the effect of it. You know, when do we put that?
I'm hoping it doesn't come down to waiting on a vaccine before things can get. I'm hoping it doesn't come down to that, but that's a real possibility, especially in Massachusetts.
But it's not going to happen. It's in Massachusetts. It's a real possibility. You're right, because we've been conservative. Maybe that's why our numbers. Maybe that's why our numbers are down. Maybe that's why our numbers are better than most.
And Massachusetts, among other states, took this seriously.
It also has the best medical community in the world. That so.
But Massachusetts was one of the handful of states that took this seriously before it became serious on the national level.
Yeah. And a Republican governor who has kind of thumbed his nose at Trump and is going to do it his way, where most of the Republican governors have kind of followed his lead, certainly. But, yeah, those are the numbers, okay? Still looking for Dr. Fauci. We should start a reward at Mike Heron's Podcast City. I got $5 if anybody can show me a clip of Dr. Fauci on the news today. Okay. Let's talk about the media. Okay. Without question, the riots took the attention, and most importantly, George Floyd's death took the attention away from Corona. Okay. When you used to get a newspaper, right, there would be 6 or 7 stories on the front page. Right? 5 or 6. You comfortable with that?
Yeah.
The way our media is today, you get 1 or 2.
You get 5 or 6 on the same
and
subject.
And they get rammed down your throat. O.J. Simpson and Big Nans and John Gotti and the Corona or SARS or Donald Trump or Barack Obama. It gets thrown down your throat. You know? Back when you had the newspaper, did you get Rick's quote for me?
Society started falling apart once social media replaced newspapers and amateurs replaced public servants.
Sure. I'm not sure about the public servant thing. They do serve the public. Okay? So, yeah. Okay, I'll give Rick that, but I think that's very poignant. Read that again for me. This is somebody saying how the way we're fed our news and the way that we are led, okay, is, it was being controlled by the major media outlets.
Once again, society started falling apart once social media replaced newspapers and amateurs replaced public servants.
You agree with that?
Yes. I mean, I don't what he's classifying as amateurs. I mean, he didn't get into, but I mean, yeah.
No, he's talking about your former. He's talking about your citizen reporter. Listen, when I wrote in a newspaper 25 years ago, okay, you have you have 2 people that have to proofread and check your article. If you have a source, you need at least 2 of them, sometimes 3. Okay, there is no editing or filtering process. They just hit Donald Trump with what a week ago for all the traffic, and they say about that. But do you know how many lies? And how many mistruths and how many non-factual things people are starting to think are true now because they're on social media? That is scary. Yeah. To have that kind of power before, you had to go to school. You had to be trained by older reporters. You had to have a decorum and a standard. Okay, you had to hold up the ethics of the newspaper. Okay, everybody was counting on you to get it right. Getting it wrong was not an option. Today, you call yourself, I'm the Bedford Street Bullet, this is the reporter, and such and such just stole a car and hit 4 cars on Bedford Street. And he doesn't even have to see it with his own eyes.
And that's sad that we've come to that point where...
Yeah, it's listen, I'm all about the citizen reporter, But there has to be. That's why I try to do things a little different with the 400B. Like,
There's got to be
I don't
credibility
get
in it, too.
It has to. It has to be researched. That's why you had editors. You know, we're talking with the strong news editors, guys like Walter Cronkite, man. I hate to go back there again, but you know this is what we need. We need the truth without the bullshit. We need it without the fat. We need it without the trimmings. We need it without the seasoning. Just give us the truth, man. You have people paying millions and millions and millions of dollars to dominate and spin the media. There are companies like that all across the world. That their focus is to train the media to talk about what they want to talk about. And a lot of them are good at it. Look at the political operatives. George Stephanopoulos grew up in Fall River. Okay? James Carville, Mary Matlin. Who's the guy who Bernhardt report, or the guy that Trump's confidant is? Steve something.
Stephen Miller?
No.
Steve Bannon?
Steve Bannon. You know those political operatives, that have been working behind the scenes. You know, I mean, they know they have to control the message, and they do. And it's always like one thing is always like sensationalized. Like right now, if it bleeds, if it's burning, okay, if people are dying, okay, and the bullets are flying, that's going to be the news. That's going to be the news. Not a medical company who, if they had a little bit more funding and a little bit more investment, they're really making groundbreaking ground on cancer. How about that story for you? You know? Or this, a police officer who's for 30 years has been donating their time working at a boys club or working at a youth shelter, okay? And trying to bridge that gap between people of color and police.
Or a police chief who took a knee with protesters. I forgot where that was.
Oh, yeah, okay. But we're talking about, like, stuff that happens every day. Like, people kneel so the cameras can see them kneel, sadly. Most of them do. Most of the celebrities do. Most of them do, okay? This mythical person that I'm talking about, and there's thousands of them across the country, are guys that coach, that are cops, that coach a poor parish in a CYO, or the Milliken League, or the YMCA League, or the Church League, or the City League, who've been doing it for a long time, who takes kids in if their parents get in trouble, who buys them food if he knows they're hungry. You know, we need to talk about that guy. We need to talk about that white cop doing that to my neighborhood, or some black cop who goes out of his way to help, some white people or some brown people, and help them in their community and do what they, or coaches a team, a high school team, or whatever he does. That's the one good thing about Forever. I always thought that we handled race relatively well. I always thought that, from the original 10 to 15 black families, how many they were, to where we are today. I think we've done a pretty decent job with that. But you need to hear about racially divided towns that get along with one another. Do you understand? The black people and white people, man, that live in Fall River, New Bedford and get along just great.
Unfortunately, that doesn't drive.
Don't get me wrong. And I have a very successful clip out there. It's got almost 10,000 views. When I said that the rioters were stealing the headlines from George Young. Excuse me. The rioters were stealing headlines from George Floyd. Okay? They're stealing the headlines from him. We talked about it. They're dominating. They took the attention. They took the attention away from the corona. They took the attention away from everything. Okay? This is about George Floyd and police brutality and police reform. The brutality has to stop, and the reform is a must. Okay? Because it's just not working. And they bust it, and a lot of them bust their ass. And there's good ones. Believe me when I tell you. I've seen it up close and personal.
It was 28 years ago.
But they're it's a stressful job. Okay, look at the divorce rates, look at the suicide rates, look at all those statistics. So I don't know what the answer is. I always thought that it would be a good idea for a police officer to mandatory, right? Mandatory, have some type of teaching, coaching, or social work experience for a couple of years. I think that would be, if I was on some type of, community talking about, I've done a lot of work with at-risk youth in my life. We have a few success stories. We got a lot of them, actually. A few I'm very proud of. Bobby Bailey, Jamal Johnson, you know what I'm talking about, and the rest of you. I always thought that, like, teaching or a missionary or doing something that you're dealing with the people all the time, the people who don't have much, okay? I think that would be a good thing for police officers. To be honest with you, I do. I think that would be. It would be something that I would like to see almost like a prerequisite.
And that's definitely a good idea. I mean, it would involve a lot more critical thinking when you have a situation when you're on the street. I mean, it was 28 years ago with the riots in L.A. with Rodney King, and to think, it's like. It's almost like, okay, as soon as this happens...
I watched Selma, Alabama. This is George Floyd going to be the last image to make things change? When is the tipping point coming?
Unfortunately.
It didn't come in Selma, Alabama. It didn't come in Mississippi. Okay? It didn't come in Watts, in Patterson, in Boston, in Philadelphia, when Martin Luther King was assassinated. And it didn't come with Rodney King. Okay? Is it going to come with George Floyd? Is this going to be the one? It might be the one where you start to see systematic change. Where the code of blue has to be dismantled. And I get it, man. These guys are put in situations a lot of the times where it's tough coming out looking good. But gross negligence, gross wrongdoing, rushing to judgment is wrong. And they have to stop it. That stop and frisk stuff is played out. Okay? There was a black Republican congressman in the United States that said he got pulled over like 30-some times in 6 months. Is it a color thing too? Not all of it. I think a lot of it is socioeconomic based discrimination. I think police patrol poorer cities differently and more aggressively than they do places like Somerset or Swansea or other places.
I mean, just within the cities, you look at what a police presence you have up the Flint versus the Highlands or Maplewood.
Yeah, and that's why, because there's 48 minutes in a television hour. The rest are commercials. Okay. With the way they report and how they sensationalize it and how they spotlight everything, there's not much else to put into it. I mean, the Vietnam War would take up 5 minutes on a newscast. They still have to talk about other things and still have to talk about other things and the weather and sports and all the other, Now it's a constant pounding, bang, 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 and the country goes like this. They run to Fox, they run to CNN, and the country goes just like this. Just like this. Just like this. And that's my number one criticism of Trump. This country has become more divided, sadly. That's my number one. Are the press on his ass? Absolutely. Is he being judged maybe a little harsher than other presidents? Absolutely. Is his base tough to get your arms around? Without question. Okay? But this is the one. This is the one thing for me. And this has became my number one issue with him. I don't think that he's done a good job of bringing us together. And he's going to say about the impeachment and But at the end of the day, it's not about him. It's about we the people. In order to form a more perfect union, we the people have to come together. And whatever divides us needs to be shunned, needs to be spoke about, needs to be exposed, needs all of it, for sure. Schools opening. Keith, you get some interesting information about that, right? They're going to continue social distancing, class size of 10 people or less. Now, herein lies the problem with an urban school district. How the fuck are you going to put 10 kids, just 10 kids in a class when sometimes you got 30 of them in them? Logistically, they need to bring like big-time project managers to do the logistics of this. How are they going to do it? Keith, talk to me.
All right. The only possible thing I could think of is, say you have a class of 25 kids, have them in 10 kids in 2 separate rooms and set up monitors, and maybe have somebody watching over it. I mean, we had a town meeting, and that's what they did. Because
good luck at New Bedford High School, and Durfee High School, and Brockton High School with monitors, teaching and monitoring kids. That's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, they don't have the employees.
We need to double the staff. We need to double. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I think that's a bridge too far, man. I don't. There is theory, and there is math, and there is science, but then there's the real test, practicality, reality. Okay, and that's not going to play well. 2 weeks in, 2 weeks home, 2 weeks in. That's not going to play well. Are they retained? Are they going to be immersed in it like it should be? I don't know. And we're already, we need to improve our scores, and then we need to improve. Sadly, I mean, how we're evaluating school districts isn't fair anyway to the urban school districts. More special needs, more at risk, dealing with more poverty, more unemployment. It's a
single parent.
It's a much different ball game, teaching in the West End, at what's that famous middle school in New Bedford? Keith. Than teaching middle school in Lexington, Massachusetts. You feel me?
Correct.
You're dealing with a whole different thing, or in the Flint, and then or living in Belmont, Massachusetts. It's a different thing. So. With that being said, the whole way we look at it and how we're evaluating and funding needs to change. So if we're going to reform police, let's do a reform across the board. Because I mean, how is this going to play? I haven't been overly impressed with the high schools around here, how they're handling like the actual graduation ceremonies. I think they can do a little better than that.
And that's those who even had some. They're still waiting.
Yeah, I think they can do a little better than what they've done. Put a left into it. I saw one place in New Hampshire where they did it on gondolas for ski lifts. I thought that was an amazing idea. All these bright minds. We need a good idea, for sure. We need a real good idea. Go at this like this. We had the two kids who came in, Justin Karam and Thomas Michael. They led a protest and they won. They got to a vote that they're gonna wait it out and have a more normal type graduation, and good for them. These kids have been hit hard, man. Think I was a high school athlete, okay, and to have you're losing your spring sport. So say you're a baseball player and a football player, and you're trying to use sports to get you into college, okay? And you miss your junior year of baseball and your senior year of football. That's a huge disadvantage.
Correct.
And more important than that, they're being robbed an experience of a lifetime. Coaching mentors, that group mentality, one for all and all for one, things that built this country come from sports. Okay? There is no feeling in the world like going to play in a big game on the road and sitting side by side with your teammates and see their legs pumping and see their arms moving and see some stoic and some bobbing their head. But the eyes are all the same. Joining together to be better, to get the place you never to go, where truly, okay, the sum of the whole has more value than the parts. To make that sacrifice, to go through double sessions, to put that work and commitment in to be great, and to do it surrounded by 50, 60 guys like they do on a football field. Okay? That experience, okay, as a senior in high school, what you bust your ass for, you cannot put a value on that. Okay? We need to let these kids play. You cannot put a value on that experience. Where unselfishness, camaraderie, loyalty, honesty, work ethic, effort are all to the forefront, and excuses and reasons why not and no and all those other things are kicked aside if you really want to do it the right way. I know. I've been part of it. I grew up in a culture of it. Okay? And to ask them kids to miss, that's too much. Not with these numbers that we have here. They pay too much of a sacrifice, in my opinion, certainly. So, yeah, the dynamic of athletics and what you learn and the foundations and principles are invaluable. You couldn't put a price tag on it. I know I wouldn't sell mine for $10 million. Next up. Okay, tell us about the youth sports. What's good and what isn't good? We're going to put the rims up or what?
Yeah.
Put them rims up.
The way it looks now, the way it is.
Colgan, put them rims up.
Youth sports, outdoor facilities like pools, courts, fields, and other facilities are allowed to open. Indoor, there's still a clamp on, so I guess the basketball courts should be again open sometime soon.
Okay. Listen, man, I am the Hurricane. We gave it to you, everything we got on the notes. These numbers, we got the numbers, big numbers. Keith, break them down again to me. Okay? Worldwide, 7.1 million. Okay? 408,000 affected. A death rate of an infection rate of 9% of the world's population, a death rate of 5%. To the United States, 2.5 million cases, 113,000 deaths, an infection rate of 8%, a death rate of 3%. Okay, Massachusetts, it gets even lower. Out of the percentage of the population, 1.5% got it, and 0.1% of them died. I salute you, the American worker, frontline medical worker. You are a hero. You are first line of defense, and you help us beat this, and we're going to beat it. I am the Hurricane. I'm giving it to you the only way I know how. The real. Peace.
Wait a minute.
Podcast City.
Get on it.
Podcast City.
Get on it.